Hello, everybody. I see people are filing in from the waiting room now. Hello and welcome to today's special online forum. My name is Sarah Bryant. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at DBA Platform, where our mission is to get your locations found. You already know that DBA Platform is the premier software and solution provider for managing local presence at scale and winning visibility for your locations on a number of platforms, Google, Bing, Apple, anywhere the consumers are doing a buying journey. Today, we're going to be talking about advanced profile optimization techniques. And we always talk about what's happening now, what's new, how to make the most of what you're doing to get your locations found online. And we're going to share, we have experts to share insights on the best practices in local SEO and also to tackle your specific questions about how to get found. It's tricky out there because answers can be hard to find. So one of the favorite parts of this webinar program is our question and answer, where we'll be collecting questions throughout on local SEO topics. And then, we'll answer those at the end of what we have prepared to tell you about what is new today. So before we get started, let's take a moment and familiarize yourself with the Zoom webinar controls. We've got the webinar chat, which is where you can talk to our webinar admin. That is Luke Waldschmidt. He is going to help us with links, and if you have any technical issues, you'll use the webinar chat to talk to him. And then we also have, if you can find your Q&A box, and I always take that box and I separate it from the rest of the webinar so that I can view it at the same time as I view the slides and the speaker. And in that Q&A box, people are welcome to publicly share questions for our speakers, and then everybody else on the webinar can upvote those. So the questions that get the most votes are the ones that we'll make sure to take care of in our Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So if you can find that and make sure, just pop your questions in at any time. If your question is related to the topic that we're talking about in the moment, like a clarification question, I'll stop and ask those questions along the way. And then if you have specific scenarios that you want to talk about, towards the end of the webinar, we'll go through some of those. So feel free to pop them in at any time so that everybody else can see your questions and upvote those questions. Also want to let you know that there will be there always is a recording after the webinar. So if you're registered for the webinar, you'll receive the email with the recording link, and any of the resources that come up during the webinar will be sent directly to your email inbox. So I want to I have a special introduction today for Jan Gilbert. Now, you know him. He's our resident expert at DBA Platform. He is a regular on the webinar series. He's a master of local SEO. He is the creator of Local Falcon, which is the original Google Maps grid tracking system that's widely revered as the sort of go-to local SEO analysis tool. But he's also part of this very exclusive program with Google. If you guys are familiar with the product expert team at Google, there are various ranks, and this is a group of people who they basically contribute to Google's support community across a number of different products. And over the years, I've been introducing Jan as different levels. Most recently, I've been saying Platinum. Platinum is an extremely rare distinction in the product experts. But just recently, Jan was awarded the Diamond level. So he is now in the very, very exclusive Google Diamond product expert category. And just to let you know how rare a thing this is like Google telling you you are the top contributor to the support community. There are less than 50 Diamond product experts globally, probably fewer than 12 in North America. So it's kind of like Google's Hall of Fame. And you are more likely to be hit by a meteor than be a Diamond expert with Google. It's easier to win an Oscar than to become a Diamond product expert team member. It is rarer than getting a hole-in-one blindfolded during a thunderstorm. And fewer people have walked to the moon. Fewer people are Diamond experts than have walked to the moon. So this is it's an honor to have Jan on our team to answer these questions. He has seen so much And while a lot of the Google stuff is mysterious and hard to get support for, hard to get answers to questions, and Google makes changes, they deprecate things. There's so much going on. It's really difficult to get answers. But when you know somebody like Jan who has, he has the experience, he's seen it before, he sees these things at scale through DBA platform and other, places that he frequents. He's in all the forums and he speaks directly to Google every single week. Now, he's sworn to secrecy on a lot of things. However, he can always point us in the right direction. And so we're really thankful to have him here. And I know that was like a really big introduction, Jan. I hope I didn't embarrass you too much, but thank you for being here.
Thanks for all those stats. Obviously, she's teasing, but yeah, I
No,
think
that's true.
I know it's true, but at the same time, it's weird to hear. It's been, I think, 7 years since I started, so it takes a long time. It's not like one of those things that you get it right away. It's been 7 years, and I don't know how many thousands of people I've helped on the support forum, and that's volunteer work, obviously. But I do get access to Google, like we meet with Google every week. One of the most important things besides getting some inside info is as you go through and you see hundreds of cases a month, like you get a sense of what's working, what's broken, because we often find the broken things before Google does, and that's why Google likes us is like, hey Google, did you see like there's a patterns here of things going. So and that's the news that I bring to you in these webinars is the up-to-date things before other SEOs disseminate the information. This is the usually we get it first because we're seeing it first before even Google knows about it. And then we say, hey, fix this please because it's broken, right? We see hundreds of posts of the same problem. And anyway, so
And on
that's
on
what
that
that
point, I'll
does
just
there.
mention too that this would be a good place to say that we just had a new knowledge base article and blog go out talking about the possible deprecation of the vehicles for sale program because we've gotten so many inquiries and we were aware of it since I think October that a lot of the inventory that you think weird things are happening in vehicle inventory. And so people have been asking. Now recently Google just put out something about deprecating some form of markup in vehicles, which affects the inventory. And so we wrote an article, and it went out via email, I think, last week. If you want to find it, I'm sure Luke, you can maybe put a link to that article in the webinar chat. But it talks about what you were just saying, Jan, which is that the like Google is this huge system, and when they make a change in one place, it can have side effects, sort of collateral damage side effects to programs, and they don't even realize it, which is why they a lot of times test things on like 1% of profiles to see, like, does something happen? Do people let us know that there's a problem? And they don't always even know, with a system that big, you don't always know what the effect is going to be. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, right? A butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world, creates a hurricane on the other side.
There's so many different departments, they don't talk to each other and they break things. That's why things break, right? But luckily this week, this month, I should like there hasn't been too much, or there has been some stuff, but they fixed it. So we can go through those. There actually the empty slides right now, but it's just a normal thing that I do every month. So um, there's been no new categories this month, so that's good. I mean, and there's so many new things happening. We don't need more new things. So if it's quiet, that's good, to be honest. So there's
I
no
think
new
this is the first
categories.
first
Yeah,
time though that there's been no new categories.
yeah, probably in a very long time that there's nothing new. But I just want to say that they're like, all right, so don't worry about it. And then there's no new pending bugs that we're seeing that are affecting, thousands of profiles. There might be some lingering things that you might have issues from before. But if you're seeing something that's wrong, typically at this point, I would say just go to regular Google support and go through the normal steps of just contacting support. And if you get blocked with support, then go to the Google forum where someone like me, we can escalate it. But there's nothing like glitchy right now that should be affecting your profile. So it's more one-off things at this point. There's nothing like system-wide. So just to let you know, because in case you see an issue, it's like it's probably it's sometimes it's better when it's a system-wide glitch because Google will go and fix it. But if it's a one-off glitch, then it's like, well, you're just one guy, we don't care, right? One profile, we don't care, right? So, but at this point, there's nothing. No huge bugs or issues that should be going on. And tomorrow there might be something. Who knows? It cycles quickly. It cycles quickly. So the email went out and it's about advanced techniques. And so I'm going to start us out with the Google AI overviews. And I apologize for the slides because they're very busy. There's going to be a lot of information coming up. So I just want to let you know. But there's actually one new thing before that I want to mention on the Google profiles. And I did mention this the last few times. And this has actually been tested out like almost like 8 months, 9 months ago, a year ago in the UK. They were putting this suspicious high rated reviews were recently removed from this list. So they're tagging profiles with this listing seems to have suspicious reviews, right? That was in the UK they were testing out. We saw this now for the first time. We had a report in North America on I don't want to say the listing, so you could go look it up, but it was a franchise, a large chain, and they flagged this to us. It's like, why did this show up on our profile? Uh, we only get good reviews, right? So, and it's going to open up the conversation is this shows up. I just wanted to show you where it showed up. So if this is on the knowledge panel or on the side on the maps, like so it comes right before the review summary area. That's where it shows up, but it might show up different places on mobile or whatever. But if it shows up, but you'll also get a warning, right? So you'll receive an email, and that's what this is on the right-hand side. Reviews and ratings on your business profile are now restricted. You should receive an email, and if you get that email, then your listing will get this tag. The red border is I added that just to make it a little bit more visible for you guys. So it won't have that red border, but it does have this exclamation triangle here. And then if you click on it, it goes to, you'll see like posting reviews is turned off of this place because it's suspicious. So there's a whole bunch of things that this might be coming, and I don't know how many profiles are going to be affected, but it's turned on from North America. This is something that I've been warning about. If you're messing around with your reviews, and some people do, just be careful because now there's a little bit more of a consequence where you won't be able to get new ones, and you'll also get this flag on your review. Now there's a link. I think Luke, if you want to put that in the chat there, because this is what this franchise was complaining is that, hey, all we get is legit reviews. Why is this here? How can we get it removed? Right? So, and that's the link that Luke just shared in the chat where you have to basically fill out the form and say, hey, why is this here? Please take this off, blah, 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 and just and wait. Because it's new, I don't know how long it would take. I don't know the success rate. This is new for North America businesses. I don't have a listing that I didn't go through the process, so I don't have insights on what you do after except filling out that form. So there's something to be aware of that it's been coming closer and closer and closer, and now it's finally here. And it's like that Monty Python where they're all running and then they keep on running and all of a sudden they're in your face. Now it's here. So and this is like, is this open to abuse? Like it causes me questions like what if a competitor starts buying reviews and puts a bunch of 3, 4, 5 star reviews on my listing, which are fake, and then Google puts this on my listing. Like, can I attack a profile by actually buying reviews for somebody else? Now, of course, I might be buying 5 star reviews, but then they get this. So now, it opens up a vector for spam or bad actors to do things, and hopefully Google has figured it out in the back end. But typically, when they do something new, it's not really all the way figured out. So, I'm just speculating with you guys, but this is where we have to, at least at my level, I have to start to think about of what what can go wrong with something new that Google does. Because typically, if it can go wrong, it will, at least for some profiles, right? So, yeah. So if people have any questions about this, we can go over there. But there's a question here. I'll read that one. I noticed product cards aren't shown publicly anymore in Google Business Profiles as well as in mobile format. Some of the products have changed from approved to not approved. So the product section, I think Google, and this has been a slow rollout. You can manually enter products on your Google profile. You Google is migrating everything toward Merchant Center. So people have been adding products manually, which is kind of a hassle for the people who really have products. And when they have a lot of products, they don't want to have to do that manually. And then, so going through the Merchant Center and feeding that to your profile is actually the better way, more efficient way. And that's what we do at Google, at DBA here, is we make those connections for you. And what it also helps is it actually helps for rankings for those products, because now you have a feed connected and Google knows, okay, this is in stock. And so you can actually use that to boost for those specific, if people are searching for specific products, your listing might get ranked higher because Google has data that confirms that you have that thing in stock and people can go buy it now, right? So Google is removing the manual product section a little at a time. I think it's doing it slowly, but yeah, I feel like that's going to go away at some point where it's starting to, because you have to understand everything, like Sarah was talking, that section of product cards in the profile is probably connected to other things, disconnect, so they can't just like delete that because it'll break other things. So they're slowly probably taking things away just to make sure nothing breaks anywhere else. Because once everything's connected in various ways. So that's that question there for the product cards. And then there is another question.
Yeah, so
So
this one's from
yeah,
Mark, and he's talking about what I brought up in the
okay.
article, which is he's asking for clarification about dealership inventory on the business profile. And so the question is what's been happening that dealers are complaining about, and it's actually probably Luke who could speak to this the best. And Jan, you're familiar with this too, right? So I can give a little overview and then you can go a little deeper. So people have been seeing that their business profile has been disrupted in terms of inventory in the auto industry specifically. And this has been going on since October, and it's affected a small number, but significant number of dealership business profiles. So now, about 3 weeks ago, Google came out with a statement saying that they're deprecating structured data. And what happened is then everybody said, okay, so is vehicle listings going away? So VLA is the vehicle listings, is the inventory of each vehicle on a dealer lot, basically getting ported into the business profile. And so what does that have to do with structured data? Well, it does have something to do with it. But interestingly, like our take on it is, first of all, Google doesn't answer that question. They don't answer questions real specifically. In this case, though, they did actually come out and say that Vehicles for Sale program is not going away. And they have put out a statement saying that the structured data is going away. They are deprecating structured data. Now, I've heard the reason for that, and I don't exactly remember it. I think it's just kind of a technology upgrade situation. Jan, do you want to talk more about that?
Well, aren't there two ways? Like they're getting the data, either the structured data or like they're scraping the what? So, um,
Right. There's different ways
yeah.
that the data comes in. And I am not the technical resource to talk about that. Luke, I don't know if you know more about that. I know you're involved in a lot of the technology conversations. Luke's
Not
like,
sure
I
if
don't want to talk. I don't want to talk on the
yeah.
webinar.
No, sorry, I was getting a link ready when you asked. So yeah, as you mentioned, you covered it pretty well. Google got rid of structured data, which some people were using to get their products live on their Google profile. That's no longer available. Our process is completely untouched. I believe what Mark might also be referring to, there was a mass downage recently a whole bunch of dealers did go down with their inventory. It happens once, maybe twice a year. Google has a bug. We have to call them out on it. They get it fixed pretty quickly. That has been resolved. So any of our clients through our, as Jan mentioned, the scraping, those are all perfectly fine. Those will not be affected by the deprecation. However, as you mentioned, Sarah, since October, since they've slowly been taking away the structured data, it has caused issues in the back end, causing some inventory to go down. Basically, it was just a way for Google to double check the information we were sending to them to verify it. And since that process has gone away, they've accidentally marked some correct inventory as having errors and taking that down. So they will be working on that. We'll be working on that with them. But any of our clients will be safe in the meantime.
So Mark has a follow-up question on that, which is, what is structured data?
So that's basically where a dealership can take on their website, they can take information about a vehicle, the model, information like that, the year, and put that into the URL, and then Google will reference that information to help put up the inventory on their Google profile.
As a layperson, I think of structured data as just the ways that devs map things so that inventory can be pulled instead of somebody like typing it in or creating some new feed. It's basically what sort of like translates one feed to something else. So it's the way that a website gets scraped where somebody has to think through, okay, there's an image for a vehicle on the what's available page. How do we take what's there and turn it into a feed that we can give to Google that they can turn into a products card on our Google business profile? So it's the mapping of data in a particular way. What more sophisticated programs do is they're doing this in the background and they're creating a feed that then sends the stuff directly to Google in the way that Google wants to do it. So it's like, I think it's just a more technologically advanced way, that they've moved to. So they're deprecating structured data and not using that anymore. And so what happened is in October, like we started getting reports of inventory problems like disappearing listings, some vehicle data being there, some of it not being there, and just an overall decline in the amount of inventory that was available. And so it's like, well, what is happening? And it takes a while to figure it out, because if Google decided to like take down structured data for 1% of vehicle industry in October, it's not going to affect everybody, making it really hard to troubleshoot things like this. But in hindsight, now it makes sense if it was actually the structured data that was being affected. So the biggest question everybody has is does this affect vehicles for sale, which is just the ability to put inventory on your business profile and basically show like a vehicle that's available for sale? Does it affect that? And Google has actually come out and said no, which they're not prone to do, but they did say that. And at DBA, just kind of looking at the tea leaves, it looks like that program will not be affected unless it's being run with structured data, in which case you'll have to switch how you do it.
Got more questions on that.
Yep. So Paul is asking, Google is notorious for being not really helpful. Just when they give you an error that says like, well, you just don't meet XYZ, so you can't have whatever, So Paul is saying, could we get a recommendation on what to do next when we hit that area of spinning our wheels with Google and they just say, you just don't comply?
Yeah, and that's why you need it in between. I mean, that's what we do, right? And that's why we have like someone like me. I'm in the Google product, Google profile expert, and we have people who used to work at Google that were in the ads department, and they have their connections there. So we're an intermediary, and because we have more reputation with Google, like internally, they will listen or pay more attention to our tickets sometimes. But we do have a little bit of an ear to help our clients get through all these technical issues, because there's always technical issues, and sometimes, like I was saying before, sometimes we discover them before Google even realizes that they've been created, right? Because listings will go down, or connections will go down, and then we'll see them in our system, or our clients will complain to us, and then we go to Google. So there's a lot of help and support that we provide besides just here's a connection, thank you very much. But no, there's always ongoing issues that we have to help with. I've had a lot this last 2 weeks. I've had a lot of suspension cases because of the auto things that I've been escalating and pushing. It's been taking a lot of my time, to be honest. But that's what we do for the client, for our clients. So I'm going to just move. I know there's still some more questions
Let
on
me
that.
just hit one. Let me
Yeah,
hit one,
no problem. Go ahead.
and then we'll move on with your
Yeah.
instruction. But Mark is asking, is DBA platform confident that a new customer would be able to have their inventory uploaded onto their GBP with your process? And Mark, I would say there's no such thing as 100% confident about anything in any of these environments, period. What DBA does is respond faster, and we have devs that are assigned to specific industries. They understand how all of these environments work, how Apple works, how Bing works, how how Google works, how inventory works, how car dealerships work, how the other big, listing services in vehicles work. And what we do is we sort of sit at the intersection of the big changes that happen in the behemoth environments like Google, and we say, okay, this change that just got made, how does this affect? And we have devs that say, okay, they took away structured data. We can pivot on that overnight and do something different. So we're constantly getting deprecated just like everybody else. We just know how to respond to it faster, and we build products that make it so that, I mean, there's what I am 100% confident in is that no single agency, no single location could solve these problems by themselves, because they're just really, really tangled. So what DBA does is creates, pivots and creates new ability. And I'll give you an example of one that happened recently, which is if we're talking right now about vehicle inventory, and what that does is it makes you found online for particular vehicles, meaning instead of just being a Ford dealer, now if somebody's looking for a specific model, make and model of car, you're going to be found the fastest by having that car available on your Google business profile. In order to do that, you have to have all of your inventory up there. And this is going to get you found, faster and better. So everybody's very interested in having their inventory up. On top of that, once you have your inventory up, you can also place ads to get even better, traction. But in Canada, you can't do this. So that's a huge problem. We get asked all the time, like in foreign countries, like how come Google won't do the same thing in Canada? Well, I mean, Jan could speak to that better, why Google rolls things out in certain geographies before it does it across the board. But for the purpose of my story, I'll tell you that they just don't have it. So what DBA did is we worked with product cards and created a solution using product cards to get vehicle inventory up in geographies that you can't do that. It was great, and it was a highly sought after product. And then Google said, you can no longer, they basically changed the technology, and we were no longer able to put up inventory as a product card. So we pivoted and did something else. So basically keeping everybody alive is what I'm 100% confident that DBA can do. As this is getting trickier and we're having more and more complaints of people just relying on their Google business profile for leads, for business, like 50%, 75% of their business coming from local search, and then your profile goes down, that is the biggest business disruptor that there is. And so many of you guys, and already I can see in the Q&A, there are questions about what do I do when a profile goes down, because this is like oxygen for this business location. We can't exist if Google won't let us have this profile. But it's getting trickier and trickier and trickier. I remember 5 years ago, Jan, you and I were doing these webinars and we were just telling people how to basically get more visible. Now it's like, now we're constantly troubleshooting how to keep these profiles alive. And now we have a service, like, because people can't get any relief from Google saying, well, you just didn't comply, so sorry. So on the confidence thing, we're struggling just like everybody else. We're just better equipped to bring out products at scale that solve problems faster as this environment changes so fast.
Yeah, they're adding so many technical elements and it breaks some things and some doesn't work for everyone. It's hard to keep up, and that's where we try to help you stay up to date and be the go between through these technical issues. I'm going to share my screen. We'll keep going a bit here.
All right, I can't wait to get to Paul's question on how do we ensure that GBPs don't get suspended?
Yeah, well,
I spend all my time on that one, so we could do a whole webinar on that one.
Okay, so I'll just skip to this slide. So this is the webinar was advanced technique. So I'm going to talk about AI overview, but I'm going to bring it into the Google profile, very local, in a minute. So there's a lot of information here on the next few slides, and I'm sorry about the busyness. I wasn't sure how to present it the right way. But basically, here we have two AI overviews that I've expanded, and it's Best DUI Lawyer Indianapolis. And I ran these, I hit enter, I opened up a new tab, I copy pasted, and I hit enter. So these are searches that I did literally like 30 seconds apart, less than that even. And they're completely different. I expanded them, I have the screenshot. So what we can see here, and I apologize if you can't read it, it's quite small, but let me just explain a little bit. This first one here has a list of lawyers or firms in like a bulleted list, whereas the second side doesn't. It automatically highlighted these. I didn't highlight this. This was the AI overview that did this automatically. And you can see there's some names mentioned here. Some of them overlap with over here, but completely different, done 10, 20 seconds apart from each other. And if you reload the same search and do a bunch of tabs and reload the same search, eventually you'll find something that'll start to repeat, but you'll get a bunch of different variations. So I want to just point out that it's not consistent, and sometimes you show up, sometimes you don't show up, sometimes it's a list, sometimes you're first, sometimes you're last, sometimes the list is 5 long, sometimes it's 10 long, like it changes all the time. And so I want you guys to start to pay attention to this and not just run it once. If you're doing manual searches, do it multiple times. Local Falcon has a new scan that you can use to help you with this type of thing. So I encourage you to go over there and check. They also have a new ChatGPT scan that does something similar. So I don't want to do a walkthrough on that, but it's going to help you understand that. So just go look over there. But if you want to do a manual search, and we're just going to walk through this manually, is the first thing to understand is that it's not consistent. It changes. Sometimes there's an AI overview, sometimes there's not. Sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not. Sometimes, you know what I mean? So all these elements this sidebar just happens to be the same. Sometimes it's not. And so the interesting thing in this example, because we're talking about local and the Google profiles, is over here, this was the actual original AI overview, Best UI Lawyer India, same thing. I didn't expand it yet on here on the left, but you'll notice that there was actually a knowledge panel underneath this AI overview. So this is the same exact thing, except I screenshotted up here, I screenshotted after I opened it up. So I opened up that show more. But if I don't open up, there's the regular organic results, and I have this Google profile. And this is Indianapolis. I wasn't located in Indianapolis, so it's not like there's no proximity component because I did the search from where I'm at in Toronto. So Google is returning a really strong profile because it's showing a 1 box. We call it a 1 box for Stark. But this is the odd thing, is that Stark is not mentioned here at all in any of the AI overviews. So you would think Google has such strong signals for Stark DUI lawyers that it's not even returning a 3-pack. It's just like, here, this is what you get. these are the guys to call for Google Maps. They're not even mentioned in the AI overview at all in any variation. However, they are mentioned third in organic. So typically the AI overviews pull strongly from the organic. So if we go back and we see like Rathburn Law is first here, there they are. They're number 6 here, right? So we have Super Lawyers, Justia. Then we have Stark, which is the first firm after the 2 like directory sites. Then we have some other guys. And these ones are showing up in the AI overview, but Stark isn't. Stark is the first organic firm. It has a 1 box and it's not in the AI overview. We have to pay attention to things like this. And the keyword here is because I put best. So we have a lot of local signals for Stark, which Google is picking up on because I put the word Indianapolis. So Google is picking up on that. And so Stark has a lot of strong signals for Indianapolis, but they don't have any signals. And when I say signals, I mean backlinks and other websites mentioning, or even their own website, best. Or why would the AI overview pick best? So why is Stark not showing up for best? It's because they don't have any specific signals for that keyword. And then we have to dig deeper. What is the signal for best? How do we signal to Google AI overview or ChatGPT, for example, how are they choosing best? And I've done a lot of research and I have some ideas where, but think real world, right? We can go and dig into the data and I'll show you it in a minute. But how would you differentiate someone who's the best and who's not the best, right? How much experience do they have? Did they win any awards? Did they, that kind of, uh, those kind of mentions where in a normal person thinking, how would you decide if someone was good or not, who was the best or not, is those kind of normal things. And that's what the AI is doing now. It's kind of making human level decisions, not necessarily based on keywords anymore. So I just found this super interesting that we have the AI overview mentioning, I mean, this is such a strong profile for this keyword, but yet they're not in the AI overview. And if you had a 3-pack, it would be lower down. But we have to dig. Now we have to pay attention to more places.
Well, and this is where Michael's asking a question. So is Google, back to the deprecation thing, is Google wanting its AI to find the information on its own rather than relying on structured data to make it more findable? And I answered a question directly to someone in here about where is it? I guess it doesn't type it in the box. A question about is the structured data thing affecting the NAP, the name, address, phone number, and stuff like that? And the answer to that is no. And Google does still support structured data, especially in the NAP and in reviews and ratings and things like that. So then, Michael's asking here, does Google want the AI to do it? And now I think we're talking, philosophy, right? And so probably not completely. Structured data is still a really important part. But it's like you're talking about, Jan, as there are some human thinking ways of figuring things out versus the structured data. So now we're seeing a blend.
Yeah, and we have to pay attention to everything, right? So like the knowledge panel is because it's very localized. And how did that website get very localized? Probably from the NAP and citations and backlinks from local the area, right? And the same thing in organic. Why is it ranking first in organic? Probably has a lot of DOI type anchor links here and there, but it's missing things like awards or top rated or best or experience. It's missing those pieces. So you can rank really, really well in one area and not show up at all in the other area, right? And this is what I'm trying to show as an example. This is a really clear-cut example where there's a differentiation. We're still paying attention to keywords, but I think now we need to pay attention to more the longer tail people will be typing best, or who is the best, or who's the most experienced. People will become more familiar with typing in long because the AI is answering more specific questions now.
Well, and
It's
not
not,
only that, Jan, but like, I mean, think about, I never thought about this before when I was Googling things, but when you Google things, you do speak almost a foreign language for Google because you kind of know that what you're looking for is an article about that. You don't just ask a question to Google and structure it the same way that you would ask, a colleague at work.
yeah,
Like, hey, what do you think is the best vacuum cleaner? You wouldn't say that to Google. You would say, top 10 list of vacuum cleaners, or you'd say, you'd be looking
yeah,
for something that you know might be out there. With AI though, I mean, I know my queries are getting more and more just like a stream of consciousness. And the more information that I give to the AI, um, you know, uh, bot, the better it can actually answer that question. And sometimes I'll even ask AI, how do I ask you this? In what order
yeah,
should we do this or whatever? So it's like, I might be asking in this case, how, like, what's in my best interest in terms of finding an attorney where I live? What do I need to think about? And then the bot will give me 12 things that I need to pay attention to based on this. And it might even ask me questions and say, well, what kind of law are you looking for? And what, so it's going to be much more stream of
right.
consciousness. And so, and we've been saying all along, and nothing changes here, is that be the best answer that you can be for the type of consumer that you're looking to get. And if you do that, then even in these crazy conversations that AI is going to have with a human being, it's going to find you to be the solution. And you can't cheat that. You just
And
have
and
to
people are
do
using
that
their
work.
phones and they'll turn on their mic and they'll just instead of because you're typing and you want to type it fast, you use 3 words in your query, right? But now it's like hey, ChatGPT, who's the best? Like now you're talking full sentences and we don't have that data, but we have to think about that kind of process. So in this case, it's just best because it's just an easy one to add that triggers a lot of AI overviews. I'm going to keep going on this specific example. There's more detail here. So um, if we go back up here and I see who's mentioned first, right? Rathburn Law is mentioned here, number 1 in this group here. And then up here, I apologize, it's hard to see. It's mentioned here. It's not highlighted, but you'll see Rathburn Law is mentioned again, and I've brought those into this screen here. So this specific law firm was mentioned in both AI overviews, but differently. In the first one, it's mentioned they're an experienced DUI lawyer with over 25 years experience, right? And then in the second AI overview, it's mentioned for a free consultation, they have extensive experience and then there's more detail. And then, so what I'm telling you guys is run multiple queries. If you're in an industry that has AI overviews, not all of them have it now. You can try to find some and don't push too hard. If there's none, there's none. Don't worry about it yet. But if there are, like you put best or very specific, longer tail queries that you think might be important, run them multiple times, open up multiple tabs, record what's being talked about, maybe your business, but let's say this is a competitor. And I'll say like, hey, they're first, they're mentioned in both times, and I'm not. Why? What did they say? What is Google AI saying about this business? They are experienced. Okay, so now I know what the AI pulled, what information it pulled. Now I go look for where did this information come from? Where did Google AI find this information? Right? So then I go to the website and then I go to the, different places. In this case, I know I didn't put it on the screen here, but on the homepage of the website of Rathburn Law, it's very overtly stated, we have 25 years of experience dealing with this specific issue, right? We've won these specific awards. We have a very, very overt messaging. It's not hidden on an about page. It's not hidden on a case studies page. It's on the homepage. So I want you to go back in your industry, run some keywords that trigger your AI overviews and see what variations are showing up for you or for a specific competitor that you're trying to emulate, and then go back and find where's that information coming from. Can I do the same thing? Can I put information on a certain place, or take a sentence or two sentences and upgrade it, made it a little bit better, and really make it really easy for the AI to pull the information to try to emulate what's happening, right? So in this case, I'm going to tell you straight out, I've done a lot of the work. I'm just trying to give you my process so that you can replicate it on your own when you're doing research for your clients here. You want to overtly mention important information in these places. So if you've won awards, if you have 30 years of experience, if you've whatever is super important that you think that the people are searching for, you want to put that on your homepage. Very just open, just say it. We are the best because we won awards. The AI is taking things at face value. It's not checking if you actually won. It's not looking for the internal, like it's going to take things at face value if you mention it in multiple places. The Google profile description, it's finding information there. ChatGPT uses Bing. Update your Bing profile description as well. It's really looking at that specific place, because ChatGPT doesn't always look at the Google information. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but Bing, it does. And also ChatGPT because Bing uses Facebook and Yelp for reviews, because Bing doesn't have its own internal review system. It goes to Yelp and Facebook, your Yelp description. These are the most important things that you should, obviously there's lots of other places, but if you're looking to, for example, rank for the best XYZ in town or whatever, go back to these places and say, we are the best because we have XYZ years of experience. We've won the award in 2020 and 21 and 22. Or if it's an old award, you won it in 2015. It's like, we previously won the XYZ award. And you don't mention the year because you don't necessarily have to. Those are the places that we want to mention. So there's a lot of information here, and I know when I go advanced, like I'm busy here, and I apologize for that, but I'm trying to point out all the parts that I'm trying to assemble for you guys. When I look, when I see what I do one search, and there's a lot of information that I can learn from this kind of things, like why is this here? Why is it not here? And so we want to start to pay attention to that kind of stuff. You can rely on SEO, Twitter, and the news, but you have to dig in for yourself, right? But I'm telling you where to look. I'm telling you how to look, and what to copy. Yeah, I can give you answers like where to put certain things, but you have to, there's detail in all of this. There's a lot of detail. So I need to teach how you guys how to do it the right way so that you can benefit. Because otherwise, if I just give a checklist of things to do, the devil's in the details. You need to know what to look for. So that's where, ask me questions. I love the questions, but I don't want to overwhelm people. But yeah, this is advanced information. Not everyone has AI overviews, and that's fine. You're not ready for that yet in your industry, but eventually it will come. So if you want to prep and be ahead of the curve, do this now, right? Do these things now. So all right, so that's good for me. I'm going to leave open up the next 10 minutes for questions here, whatever we have.
All right, let me get to Paul's question. When DBA makes updates to GBPs, how does it ensure that the GBP doesn't get suspended? Because Google seems to randomly hate certain profiles more than others. Now, this is, I'm going to let Jan answer that question, but I just want to plug one thing here, which is it's really difficult to know what's going to cause a suspension or put somebody back in a re-verification or otherwise mess with a profile. You remove all your reviews or whatever, trauma can happen. It's very, very difficult to know, except when you've done it at scale. So right now, next month, we have a huge webinar coming up. I think it's July 24th, but Luke can verify that date for me. It's for the auto industry. because DBA is rolling out a bunch of really unique tools for the auto industry that help you see like so much more deeply into what's going on in your profile, also in your ads, with your data accuracy. You'll now be able to see if third parties are making changes to your profile, which happens more than you would think. There's a bunch of things rolling out. So in preparation for that, we did this big case study, which we'll also be talking about next month at the webinar. And we did something like 90 locations. I'm still going through the data on that, but we were able to get a 20% lift in meaningful activities, so driving directions, phone calls, to dealerships by doing some unique things with the listings. And the biggest issue that we had around this experiment that we wanted to do with these new products that we have, the biggest issue that we had is how are we going to do this without risking suspension on these profiles? What can we change? What can we not change? And that's a really big piece of all of this. And it was a big concern. So what we did is we pooled the knowledge of Jan, who specifically understands one piece of this, our ads people, so we have sort of expertise in different areas, and we said, how can we approach this? And in our case study, we actually did get a bunch of profiles suspended. It wasn't DBA that did it. It actually was the agencies and the dealerships themselves, by trying to do things with their profiles that are available for them to do, processes that are available for them to do, but that our experts said, don't do that, don't touch that, don't hit that, don't create a duplicate. When you hit that button, you don't realize you're going to create a duplicate listing. When you hit that button, you don't realize this is going to happen. And we were feeling our way through it too. We were able to do it with no suspensions, where our agencies and locations got themselves in absolute quagmire, doing things that are basically available and new to do. So all of that is going to be talked about next month, but I'll tell you that it's just experience, Paul, that and we can't help it either, because things get suspended and whatever anyway. And Jan, I'm sure you can answer that.
Some categories, they're more sensitive than others. I'd like to answer quickly, because there's a lot of questions and we have 5 minutes. There's nothing you can necessarily do except keep your data, as much data as possible, right? So make sure if you're changing your address, you haven't put your address on your website, put things on your website where Google can find pieces of data. So just the stronger that Google has trust in the information it has for what you're going to change. And if you change something and Google, like the system says, oh, I've seen that before about that business, that makes sense, we're good. If you change something and Google says, that looks suspicious, that doesn't look right, I've never seen that data before, that I can't check it on their website, it doesn't say that looks weird, suspended, right? So that's the general idea, but we don't know. There's no gauge. There's not like a gauge of it's yeah. And then some fields are more trustworthy. Like if you change your address, you're going to get suspended. If you change your name, chances are you might get a higher suspension. So there's different fields that are more. So there's no way to know, unfortunately.
Well, and I would say we've sort of developed a think like Google sort of approach, where it's like, how likely is this to cause a problem? We can sort of tell that by feel, from experience of seeing so many of them. Very difficult to do if you're only seeing yours, or only seeing one industry, or only seeing a subset. Yeah. So Michael had a question. What would you think about content that answers the question, which is the best car dealer in my area? For instance, a blog with the title, Why Billy Bob's is the Best Car Dealer in Indianapolis.
Yes. Yeah, you could do that, but I would be even, think about being more specific, because is someone going to search best car dealer, or are they going to search, that's quite generic for me. I'm looking for a specific, Ford. I'm looking for a specific model, like who's the cheapest model, you know what I mean? So it's not, how would a searcher think, are they going to look for car dealership? Because I think a person would have a more specific thought than that.
Well,
That's
and
what
it's not about the keyword best, because you could replace that with greatest, right? Or you could
I mean,
replace
no,
that
it
with
helps,
top, or
but
you could
yeah,
replace
I
that.
think at this point it still helps, but you have to back it up. You say, I'm the best. But I was saying before, I'm the best because I've won awards, because I've experienced, because you have to back up your claim. And that's the important aspect now. So yeah.
So John S asked, stupid question, but can you ask AI to write what you want to post on GBP, Bing, etc.? Can it give you the best insight? Can it basically be Jan Gilbert and tell you how to do this?
Yeah, so AI can what you post on, yeah, you can use it, but you have to be very specific on, like, I want to write, if you say, like, it's helpful, but AI will, it still makes stuff up. Like, part of my issue when I'm researching is I'm doing things and I'm like, oh, I'm really digging in, and then it'll tell me stuff, and then I'm like, that seems a little bit iffy, and then I go back and I challenge it, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I completely made that up. That was a complete lie. I'm like, what I mean? So you can tell the system, say, write me the great blog post for our Google post or an article that will rank for this thing, and it'll do a good job. But it's not going to be like that's the answer, right? We still need it because the AI needs to be creative to be able to do its thing. The creativeness can hallucinate too. So you got to be careful, right? So um, phone. Okay, I see a phone number. Phone number change can be iffy if you have a primary phone number and you're
So
only changing the
the
primary phone
question was
number.
about how sensitive is the GBP when it comes to changing the phone number?
Yeah, oh,
Is
sorry,
that
I
a
didn't read it.
problem?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So typically, if you want to change a phone number, what you can try to do to avoid issues is you can use like, take your original phone number that you had, put it as a secondary phone number while you put the other one, even though that secondary number may not be valid anymore, whatever, no one sees that secondary number, but you're basically saying, this is an extra number now, this is not my primary source. So you can use the second, like, switch places of the primary to secondary. That way you're not just deleting primary for another primary. That way Google will say, huh, that looks weird. That may not be the right thing. But if you take the original one, put it in secondary, and then put a new one, that people do all the time for tracking phone numbers. That's done all the time. That's a normal behavior, and it would be less suspicious. I'm not saying it won't get you suspended, but you're just going to reduce the chance. And then, in terms of using best as an example, should you be trying to incorporate that related to that search within? Yeah, so I gave you the main core places where I know AI is checking. Is Google checking Google Posts? Maybe, yes, but ChatGPT isn't. So everyone's ecosystems are fracturing, and everyone has, like, their little communities. Like, ChatGPT doesn't check Google for everything. Google can't check, this place and this place, right? So we want to use that information. And yes, 100%. If I say put on your homepage and your Yelp description and your Bing, put it in it, make a Google post. I won an award. Here's a picture of my award. I'm going to put it on a picture and spread it everywhere. Like, we need to think of being everywhere now with that information. So the most important thing is to identify the key information besides just basic queries. What are the main longer tail queries that people might find, how they might find me? Answer that question. How do I prove this? And then put it in as many places as you can. If you need to focus somewhere, homepage and those descriptions that I mentioned.
And by the way, DBA is building a bunch of automation programs inside the platform to answer reviews using AI, but also allowing you to check them. When we create things like right now, Jan's saying you have to put this information everywhere. Well, that's time consuming to do manually. And DBA already knows exactly how duplicated can it be without causing a problem. And so we're using AI in our system to create that stuff for you so that with a touch of a button, you can actually post across now a bunch of environments. And, our stuff is more likely to have more of the right rules in it. Our feeds are checked all the time. We know if something goes down in a feed in your inventory. We have alerts, we have critical alerts, we have checks, we talk to Google. We actually helped Apple build their program based on the fact that they knew that we knew how Google did it.
Yeah.
So so there are some things where, you know, the platform is sort of pre-baked to do some of these things for you because it is really getting more and more difficult. It was hard enough to do in Google. Now, you know, Apple has taken a huge leap in the last year in terms of market share of search. AI is going to eclipse that. And so, you know, what DBA is trying to do for you today is create the best solution right now as things are changing to get the best result and ensure that, you know, you're less likely to have suspensions and downtime and whatever, and that we can do it at a fraction of the cost, do it at scale, and just make your life easier. So, you know,
We have
stay
to start
tuned in.
automating. There's too many places now. We can't, I know that we're done, but it was 85% Google, and that's what we cared about. But now we have to care about a lot of different places. And how do you do that efficiently? We have to automate. We have to leverage the new tools, and that's what we do. Um, there's a number of questions that I was not able to get to. Please go to the Facebook group. Just apply to get in. We'll accept you, and then just repost that same question, please. And I will be in that forum, for the next half an hour, and I will try to answer right away while everything's fresh. So please go to that Facebook group and ask your questions.
And we'll
now.
have Luke grab these questions because a couple of ones that just came in at the end here are really good for you know, some articles and things. Thank you guys for being here. Please attend next month. The auto webinar is going to be a big reveal, and we have some new reports and visibility into things that are exclusive that nobody's ever seen. Nobody's doing this, and it's going to give you a big strategic advantage. So we'll see you then. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.